As you can tell, I'm standing in front of a raspberry patch, and this is late October, so things kind of don't really look that exciting, and leaves are kind of senescing. Senescence just means they're getting old and ready to fall off. Because this is an ever-bearing variety, and so this particular variety has the capacity of producing berries and all the way to frost. Depending on where you are in Ohio, actually the frost can come in as early as maybe mid-October, and in other areas could be late October. But by early November, most parts of the state would have gotten a frost already. Raspberries are definitely a lot of fun to grow, and the first thing you need to think about is site selection. Raspberries definitely require very good drainage. In most part of Ohio, our soils are not that well drained, and except a few counties where they have, or parts of Ohio where they have sandy soil. But most of us have either clay soil or kind of loamy soil. So for home gardeners, I would definitely build raised beds to improve soil drainage, especially with red raspberries. If you don't have very good drainage, red raspberries will just die. And then black raspberries will do much better with improved drainage. So drainage is a must. I would almost treat my raspberry plants kind of like tomato plants. You plant them in raised beds, and typically the raised beds should be about 10 to 12 feet above the soil line. In our case, it's kind of hard to see from all the weeds that grew during the rainy part of the year, but our beds are raised and about 8 to 10 inches above the soil line. Let's talk about the raspberry varieties. Actually, there are different ways to classify raspberries. One is by fruit color. So you have red raspberries in this case, and then you have red, you have black raspberries, you have yellow raspberries, and you have the black and the purple raspberries. So it's important to know the name of the variety, so you would know how to manage them. And so that's one way to distinguish them is by fruit color, and then the second way is by their fruiting habit. You have with the fruiting habit, you have summer bearing variety, and then you have ever bearing variety. Summer bearing variety, just by its name, the varieties will produce fruits by summer. And so in that case, when you plant your summer-bearing variety or varieties, the first year most likely they will not produce a crop. So what's going to happen is, and then the new canes come from the base, come from the soil line, and the canes will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes they will reach up to 4 to 5 feet, and others will get up to 6 to 7 feet tall. But most of them are going to be about 5 feet tall or so. And then it would just be a tall stick. You just have a whole bunch of tall canes. During the first year, those are called prima canes, and so they will grow and grow. Depending on the management system, some folks will actually come in and they will hedge. They would tip those canes, and for example, this is not a summer-bearing variety, but what they could have done, just to pretend this is a summer-bearing variety. When they get this tall, you can cut those, and they will produce laterals, and all of the flower buds are going to be on the laterals, and then you would shorten the laterals in March. That's kind of how you prune them. But if you don't really do anything, and then you let the canes grow to like 6 feet tall, and then you could trim them back a little bit, you'll have a whole bunch of flower buds on the cane well, you have the buds on the primer cane, and then the same canes will actually turn into floral canes next year. So next year, the same cane, while the bramble canes or raspberry canes, they are biennial in nature. So the first year they will grow and grow, and there are primer canes, and when they get taller and taller, and then they will develop flower buds late in the season, and next year they will produce a crop, and then that cane will actually die, so you have to remove those. So that would be the summer bearing varieties. And then you have another group, and that's called the ever-bearing variety, and this is the case here. And the most common variety is called Heritage. It's a variety, red raspberry variety that was released back in the 60s by Cornell University. So what it is it's pretty neat, and so one cane will come up and grow longer and taller, and then on the terminal buds they will produce a whole bunch of fruits. In this case, you have some tiny berries on the terminal fruits, on the terminal shoots, and then they will just keep growing fruits until everything gets hit by frost. And then next spring, and what's going to happen is you have quite a few. See these buds here, and they are going to actually produce a second crop. Second crop, that would be more like a late spring or early summer crop. So one variety, ever-bearing variety, is capable of producing 2 crops a year, and I really like this, because they're much easier to grow, and you get 2 crops out of them. So Heritage is the poster child for ever-bearing varieties, and if you are kind of wondering, okay, I've been there and done that and tried Heritage, liked it, but aren't there other varieties or better varieties out there? Well, fortunately there are. Another variety I would try is called Caroline. It's about a week earlier than Heritage. It's very similar in growth characteristics, and their berries are a little bit bigger, and so to me it's more of an improved version and also earlier version of Heritage. And then we have a third one. It's called Joan J. Joan's just like girl's name Joan, and the name of the variety is called Joan J. If you look close, well, it's kind of hard for you to see, but I'm handling this, and then Heritage and Caroline, they all have a lot of thorns. Right now the thorns are not that awful, but wouldn't that be nice to have varieties that are thornless? We have one variety that's actually truly thornless, that would be Joan J. So if you can you can actually touch the cane without really hurting yourself. So if you were to try primer cane bearing varieties, of red raspberries, I would definitely try Heritage and Caroline and Joan J. And those are my 3 recommended varieties. And then you have purple varieties, and there aren't that many. One of them, actually 2 of them, I believe one of them is called Royalty, other one is called Brandywine. And so those are purple varieties. And then you have your summer red, and one of them is called, if my memory serves me correctly, that would be Nova. And then you have black raspberry varieties. There aren't that many to choose from. You have your Jewel, you have your Bristol, and you have your Mac Black, and so those are pretty much it. And Jewel is my favorite variety, and Mac Black is my second, and then my third favorite would be Bristol. And so in terms of growing them, ever-bearing varieties are probably the easiest, and because you can actually cut everything to the ground level in March, and then you let everything come up and you would just get one crop. But if you were to selectively prune, like cut out every other one, and then you will have two crops. So ever-bearing ones are easier to grow, and summer varieties are not that difficult to grow either. If you were to grow black raspberries, and then you would treat them kind of like the summer bearing ones, but they don't grow as tall. So when they get about 3.5 feet tall, you would hedge them and then let them grow lateral. Some laterals could be as long as maybe 3 to 4 feet. And then in March, you would shorten your fruiting laterals back to about, I would say, 8 to 10 inches long. One of the common questions that we get in the extension office is, can I plant red raspberries next to black raspberries? The answer is, well, it depends. It's actually no, but it also depends. What it is there are some viruses that can get on both red and black raspberries. Those viruses will weaken the red ones, but they will actually kill the black raspberries. So it's definitely not a good idea to plant red raspberries and then black raspberries side by side. But there are growers who do, and then how do they make it happen? Viral diseases are transmitted by aphids, and so if you can keep control aphids very well, sometimes you don't really experience that problem. But it's definitely not recommended to plant both red raspberries and the black raspberries side by side. And there's nothing wrong with planting red raspberries and the blackberries side by side. Okay, we talk about some of the varieties already, and I wanted to show you our planting of Joan J. When you look at it, and this is actually kind of late in the season. Fruits are not that huge, but they still look pretty attractive so far, and maybe I'll try it and see whether it's any good. Yeah, pretty good raspberry flavor, and hopefully it doesn't have this insect, spotted wing Drosophila. And if it does, and then it's just added protein. But anyway, so if you look at the stem, and I can actually rub the stem up and down, and it's very smooth, and it does not have any thorns. So it's a very good variety, and it's truly thornless. And if you look at this cane here, and this cane, it almost looks like your thornless blackberry cane. It's very, very strong, and then truly thornless. And this variety is actually so popular that if you want to purchase it from a mail order nursery, and a lot of times if you don't order early enough, you may not get any. And then for some of those who are wondering why I'm kind of standing in a plastic hoop house. It's actually called a high tunnel. We're doing a research on season extension, and if you keep everything in a protected structure, and the ever-bearing variety actually has the potential to grow to produce berries all the way to, I would say, mid to late November, and sometimes even into December. So for commercial growers, it's a very good thing, because you can potentially double or triple the yield, and so that would mean much greater profits and for commercial growers. And there are gardeners who grow them on a smaller scale. So there's no reason that home gardeners couldn't try this on their own.